Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, Greg Graham, also known as AVM Superhero, shares his story entitled Death Taught Me How to Live. He shares about a moment in the hospital when his life flashed before his eyes and he felt total peace. This experience propelled his recovery and his relationships. He made major life decisions when leaving the hospital, and he rerouted his life. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Greg Graham's interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today's guest is AVM Superhero, also known as Greg Graham. He suffered a very rare form of a hemorrhagic stroke, an AVM in his cerebellum. He's the creator and organizer of AVM Superhero Caregiver Package and hosts the Instagram show Death Taught Us How to Live. His story is an extension of just that thought. It's entitled Death Taught Me How to Live. Before we begin, we take a moment of pause, understanding that stroke offers an opportunity for transformation. While we carry parts of our pre-stroke selves with us, we are transformed by such a life shift. We ask for hope and courage as we rewrite our story of life. May we find strength and purpose in supporting one another. Greg, thanks for sharing your story today.
You're absolutely welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have you here. So you mentioned that you were on the phone with your mom while you were driving.
Yes.
Please tell us more about your relationship with her.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story to tell together. Me and my mom are very tight. I'm her youngest out of 3 boys, and she babies me all the time. I used to always run up to her and always go to her for protection because my older brother used to beat me up all the time. But, me and him are closest friends now. But everything that's happening within my life, my mom has always been there for me. It's like we have been each other's backbone. And it just so happened that when I had my stroke, she was there at that particular time. So we have a very tight bond.
Yeah, I can't believe you were on the phone with her as it was happening.
Yeah.
How your relationship with yourself and your former wife changed after the stroke. How did your relationship with your mom shift?
Let's talk about the ex-wife first. The ex-wife, it was kind of surreal because I always thought that when I die, I will be with my family, I'll be with my loved ones, and everything that I do with my wife we can do together. And this is the first time in my life that I've realized I was not able to do this with her or to explain it to her, what actually really happened to me. So there was a separation there that she thought one way and I thought completely a different way. So it was hard to make that transition to post-stroke between us. And we fell apart from there and couldn't get back together. Now, as far as my mom and I, like I was saying before, we was two peas in a pod. Now it's almost sickening because people will call it Team Greg. And she just helps me out so much that no matter what I do, whatever I say, whatever action I have, she understands it. She was right before I had my stroke, she retired as a nurse's aide working with stroke survivors in rehab. So she automatically transitioned from being a nurse's aide working with stroke survivors to have her son being a stroke survivor. So she understands my mood swings. She understands when I feel lethargic and I can't do things for that particular day. She completely understands it. I don't know if it's too much that she's babying me, that our son, that she does that, or it's just complete love that she has for her youngest child.
Wow, what a gift. She was trained in this and then retired and then had more time to be there with you and to have someone who's so close to you as you're going through something like this that they can read your emotions and your needs and you're able to be honest with them, share your whole self with them.
Absolutely.
I love the part of your story where you described your near-death experience too, Greg. You mentioned going through all the people you've known in your life and feeling totally at peace in that moment. You asked for more time to teach your daughters. And then you heard a voice say, okay, tell me more about that experience.
It was wild. It's very wild. Like I said in my story, I'm not sure if I was hallucinating or if it was actually something that was actually happening. It's like if you can imagine jumping off a building and you don't have a parachute and you know you're going to die. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's the experience that I had. I was like, I know I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. There's nothing I can do about it. But everything started transforming in front of me. The sky became bluer. The grass, it's like it was untouched by human hands, and none of the human technology was there. It was in its natural form, and my senses, my smell was so heightened. I could smell things that was not there anymore, like oil in our truck. I could smell the oil that I spilled like 2 or 3 weeks earlier. It was just so intense. Everything was so intense, but peaceful. So when I was going through this ride, this journey, it was comforting. It was like, it was so easy to die. It was hard to live. Death was easy. It was welcome. It was peaceful. It was serene. And once I came to my daughters and think about, I have to live for my daughter. Like, I do this. I didn't want to go with it. I didn't want to die. I was fighting that hard, even though I didn't know any solution but to ask God. And that's when I asked God. I said, hey, give me a shot. Can you please give me another chance so I can teach my daughter some things? Because I know there's some things I have not taught them yet, and they need it from a man's perspective. And as soon as I said that, I heard, okay, and everything started transforming. It's like I was pulled back, like there was a rope on my legs, and it was pulling me back into life.
So the okay was clear as day. Was it like a sound okay? What was that like?
And it's like talking to you right now. And you said, I was asking you a question. You said, okay, Greg. Just like that. It wasn't no thunder or lightning. It was no spectacular movie effects. It was just simple, okay. And life moves forward. Like I was having a conversation with my best friend.
And you said you were somewhere else. Your sensations were heightened. Your senses were heightened. So Absolutely. You were in the place that your body physically was, but you were seeing it differently?
Absolutely. It's like I had new glasses on, I had better hearing. Everything was heightened, like everything was in tune with what was around at this time. It's like I opened another part of myself that was never opened before. And it's weird because I want to get back to that place without the threat of death.
Mm.
And I can't find how to get back there. So that place is so unique, it's so special. And I get close to it when I do my meditation. And when I really focus, because it feels like it's a place that is within, and also, I guess, the heavenly body that's without. But it's all a different type of body, but you're still in your same physical body. It's hard for me to explain, I guess.
Huh. And part of the intro for this podcast, Beyond Stillness, I talk about where humanity and divinity connect. And that's the moment that we just yearn for, the uniting nature of it. I guess that's where spirituality comes from. Your form of hemorrhagic stroke, the AVM in the cerebellum, happens just to 1% of the world's population. Please tell us a bit more about AVM.
Arteriovenous malformation, the AVM, is a rare condition. A lot of people will automatically just say it as a aneurysm. That's the easiest way for people to understand what it is. But it's a little bit more difficult than that. The AVM can happen anywhere within your body. It's just when your veins and arteries connect together. Usually those capillaries are straight lines. AVM is those capillaries all knotted up. They're not really sure how it's made. Some people say you're conceived that way. And a lot of times you won't find out that you have this until it ruptures. So mine was in my cerebellum. It could be anywhere within your body that your arteries and veins connect together. So I just want you to understand that as well. So when I say AVM, it's not automatically a stroke. It's just a hemorrhagic stroke because the AVM was located within my brain. And it caused a hemorrhagic stroke at that.
Interesting. Have you connected with other people?
Absolutely. I talk to a lot of people on Instagram, TikTok, as well as Facebook and YouTube. But when I first had this situation happen to me, my doctor said it's such a rare thing. When they did my craniotomy, they got other doctors from all over the country to witness it because it's so rare to actually see AAM. I thought I was completely by myself. But once I got onto social media, the world opened up to me, and I found out there was so many other people all over the world that had this condition. But it's weird because if you don't have social media, I wouldn't know that I have someone in Texas or in California or in Australia that had the same condition because I would never have met them. So even though it's very rare, all these rare people have come together on social media.
Huh. Is that you poking me to try to get onto social media, Greg?
Hey. If it takes you, go for it.
That makes a lot of sense. And there's something so beautiful when you can find people who are going through similar difficulties and try to overcome those obstacles together. That's part of the purpose of creating this podcast. What is something that you have found in common with most of the other AVM survivors?
AVM survivors, stroke survivors, and also people that are having what's called a TBI, traumatic brain injury. What I have found that we have in common is that nobody else understands what we're going through. It's like we have a new lease on life. We understand that life is completely not in our control. We understand that there is a higher being that's in control of all of this. And the simple things in life that people argue about, we don't argue about. So we don't take things for granted. We take our time. We notice I'm going to give you even a better example. Imagine you're in a car and you're driving down the street. And let's say you drove down the street 1,000 times in your whole entire life. Now, if you go down that same exact street, but this time you walk, you notice things completely different. You see that house that's been abandoned for many years in the woods. You see that there is more incline than you thought, because when you're driving the car, you don't really realize the incline in that street. So that's what it is. As a stroke survivor, we're forced to take our time to notice things a little bit more different. We walk a little bit different. We watch our step. We don't put ourselves in certain crowds because we don't want to get bumped and fall over. So all these people understand this, and it helps us connect with each other, because other people don't understand what we're talking about. What people take for granted as what we call normies, we don't.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to what you were saying about your heightened senses in that moment when you were facing death. Because now to look at the world differently, you're watching your step, you're aware of the things around you. And that's something that you have in common with other people, but that's a life shift. And it makes me wonder, your Instagram show, Death Taught Us How to Live. Can you share a little bit more about that show and what you've learned from connecting with people through that show?
Before I had my stroke, I was into instructional design, and I was helping doing transitions for major Fortune 500 companies and doing their training documentation. So I was always used to being in a training or teaching type of format. So I took the skills that I had from my prior life, and I found it to be therapeutic for me in my recovery to use my gift to help other people tell their stories. So when I created that show, I wanted to make sure that people that didn't have a voice, people that felt inadequate, people that didn't feel that they was part of society anymore, had a chance to talk about who they are, so they can teach other people how to live a more fulfilling life. So once that happened, the floodgates opened up. Once I became more transparent, more convenient to people, and letting them being able to be the star for 60 minutes, I got to understand more about myself, or the shortcomings that I had, as well as giving people a chance to teach others how to be a person. So it was a great win-win situation.
Oh, absolutely. I think about that with this show too, Greg. I learned so much from each guest in the way that they formulate their story and choose what to tell or choose what to say they've learned over the years. And I get to learn, and the hope is that they learn about themselves, and the hope is that they connect with each other, much like what you're doing.
Absolutely. That's what I like about this show as well. You have forced me to think very deep about my story and to formulate it into words so I could actually give it out to the world. So I really appreciate you doing this for us, Mom.
Greg, I appreciate you. You're a total gift to me and to the people listening. Another point that's different about your story, Greg, is you offer to share a little bit about your difficulties in your marriage. And there's a high percentage of romantic relationships that end up breaking after traumatic life experiences. And stroke is definitely in that category for a variety of reasons. Looking back, what advice do you wish you would have had in those difficult moments?
That's a great question. And I go back further than having a stroke. I look at it before having a stroke, because I see that there are people out there that have gone through what I've gone through, and their marriage, their relationship has survived. So I'm not really sure if it's something that I should have changed after my stroke, but it's more about what you should be before something bad happens. People don't really look at or pay attention to their vows when they get married. There is a line in most marriages in the United States. It says, for sickness and in health, to death do us part. And that's the only time we talk about a person being sick. And we don't imagine that one day our spouse will be sick and we have to take care of her. Nobody prepares you for that. Before that happens, if you're arguing over meaningless things and all of a sudden you can't understand why you're arguing with your spouse anymore, and you just each and every day you guys are arguing, fix that. Because once a injury like this happens, it's almost impossible to mend that particular relationship. So my advice is, before something like this happens, fix your relationship.
It's almost like you're starting from behind.
Absolutely.
When you're stepping up to help each other. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
And relationships, it's sensitive information when people start to talk about those hard moments that have been kept secret. Other people who are going through them at that time can feel a sense of hope and camaraderie. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You mentioned honesty is one of the most important factors in moving forward in a healthy way. And honesty is so difficult when we know that someone will be disappointed or hurt. But it's also so important to be true to oneself and to one's loved ones. How did you ultimately find the courage to just be honest?
I'm definitely trial there, a lot of trial there. But I do remember the day, and I think it came from, after my divorce, I started dating. And I had to be completely honest with people that I was dating. And, we was during the pandemic, so I was trying to find people to talk to during the pandemic, so on and so on. I had to be completely honest that I was a stroke survivor. And if you're going to deal with me, it's going to be a lot to deal with. So at first, I didn't include that information in my bio. And then I would find people, and then, I would find people, they will like me. We converse on the phone, and then all of a sudden I tell them that I'm a stroke survivor. So I felt like I was being deceitful because I forced somebody into loving me or liking. Then all of a sudden I dropped this bombshell, and they have to make a decision to deal with me or not. And I'm like, this is not fair. So once I came to that realization that I have to be completely honest with people no matter what. And if they don't like it, they're not for them. And once I realized that and started living that way, the world started opening up. I started getting people in my life that accepted who I was, and I didn't have to change. I didn't have to put on a mask. I didn't have to become a character. I didn't have to be an actor. I could have been really regular. And that was the most freedom that I felt in my whole entire life.
Wow, Greg. A lot of people have some crazy dating stories. Do you have a specific story about when you realized that somebody accepted you for post-stroke Greg Graham?
I have a lot of horror stories, but I had a story once I came true to myself and saying, this is who I am. I had this one person say, if you had another stroke, I would take care of it. It doesn't make a difference. If you couldn't walk again, if you couldn't clean yourself again, and you couldn't do all these things again, I would take care of you.
Wow.
That's how much I like you. I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. There are people out there that see me past the physical form. They see my spiritual, my mental, my emotional side. And once I learned that, that's when I started realizing that I'm much more than who I am physically. I'm much more who I am with my education. I'm much more than how much I have in my bank account or how much things I possess. Because all those things are vanity. And once I realized that, I was saying in my story, I had freedom.
Yeah.
I realized who I was. I woke up because I think before my stroke, I was dead. Only thing I was thinking about was my physical form. Now I'm more in touch with my spiritual, my mental, and my emotional side. That my physical side, if it does get better, it does. If it don't, it don't.
That definitely offers hope in a variety of ways. There are people out there that have had some type of revelation. It doesn't have to just be someone who's gone through a stroke necessarily. You had this major experience. You remember going somewhere else while being here and feeling levity in that peace. Experiences that follow stroke can be just as life-changing, just as much of a shift. And you don't have to choose to be with that person, but knowing it's out there, knowing that there are other people who have reached this different perspective on life.
Right. we've been programmed, we've been deceived that you have to be a certain way, you have to look a certain way to be accepted. And once you realize that there are people out there that do see you for who you are inside, not outside, and can love you for that, you really transform your life. And I get, we going back to that social media part. A lot of people don't want you to get on social media because of that, because it's just everything is fake. Everything is, these trends, these challenges, instead of being real and authentic who you are in real life. Well, on the reverse side of that is once you become real, once you become open, you can use these particular places, use these platforms to show who you are and transform what social media is used for, and use it for the purpose that you see it and have followers. So that's what I have done.
Yeah. 2 points for Greg trying to get Molly. I have a chalkboard here. Good. You mentioned therapy a few times in your story, Greg. What is a helpful tool or a piece of advice that you received while going through therapy after your stroke? And then how did it help you pivot?
I had non-conventional ways of therapy that was very vital for me. But I didn't realize when you do go through therapy, make sure that you're dealing with a therapist that understands your situation entirely. Maybe you might go to a therapist that deals with your type of religion, or maybe you go with a therapist that understands stroke survivors, or that understands marriage counseling, stroke survivors. That is very key when you actually go into your therapy. What helped me, I realized that my issues that I had in the past, my therapist wasn't really concerned about that. They was more concerned about what made me think that way. Why am I keep on reliving those stories? Why am I keep on living in the past instead of being in the moment? And I stopped saying my stories out loud. And once I stopped saying my stories out loud, my life became different, because the only thing a story is really for is for people to find sympathy for you or to be educated by what you say. So I was looking for sympathy for the things that happened to me. And whenever I was looking for that sympathy and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you," I went into that little baby phase, like, "Oh yeah, someone that has comfort," instead of growing and saying, "You know what, that has happened for me. Let me change my story. That person didn't do me wrong, they did me right, and my life is better from that." And that's how I look at things now from my therapies.
I see that as a pivotal theme in your talk. You talk about transformation, among many other things within your talk. You talked about a moment when you sold your goods and you wrote things on paper and burned them. You had a ceremony to let go of your old stories. Can you tell me about that day or that time period?
I had a funeral. No, after my divorce was settled, because we went through the divorce during the pandemic as well. And it took about a year to actually finalize because everything is shut down. And after that, all that was said and done, my car was taken away from me. I didn't have anything. I was living out in my sister's house, living at my mother's house. I didn't have any possession of my own. So I was like, I need to start over. So on one of my birthdays, yes, the day I had my stroke, November 27th, I said, I'm gonna have a ceremony. I'm gonna bury the Greg that I knew and come back a new person. So I got rid of my wedding ring. I got rid of my jewelry. I took some things down that I wrote, and I said, okay, I don't want to live this way anymore. So I wrote things that I don't want to live that way anymore, and I burned them. And after that, I was revived. I was a new person. And not saying that the stuff that I did before doesn't come back and haunt me. It doesn't mean that it's completely gone. But I have started a new slate, and I'm trying to work on each and every day to be a better person, to fulfill that goal that my God has given me, to be a better father to my daughters, give me more time. But I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing I haven't spoken to you about. I don't know how long that's going to be. I don't know when God's going to say it. It's like how he said to Hezekiah, I'll give you 10 more years to live. I don't know how long my life is going to last. I'm in the moment each and every day. I'm doing what I have to do, because when it comes a time again that I feel like I'm at death's door, I'm not going to ask God, give me another chance. I'll be fine. I'll be ready to go.
I love that. It's clear your daughters are central to your life. Parenting after the stroke is always complicated. As you noted, you shifted your parenting style, and kids of stroke survivors are also forced to shift their relationship with their parents. In what ways have your daughters grown to support you as the post-stroke Greg and to support your recovery?
It's amazing, because as a stroke survivor, you're trying to really focus on yourself to become better. But I saw something within my daughters that was completely amazing, that they were so adept to actually understand the severity of what their father was going through. My daughters were 12 and 11 when this happened to me. So before, we was very hectic, doing crazy things, right? Not the traditional type of parenting for a father, but sports, very competitive, things of that nature.
Huh.
So my daughters used to go into stores with my then wife and hide from us. Like we'll go into Kohl's and they'll hide in between the clothes racks, and we couldn't find them. So I would go and try to look for them. They'd try to play hide and seek. I was always go and look for them. But after my stroke, the NFL had the Super Bowl in Atlanta. I believe it was in 2018. There was so much people out there at the NFL experience. There was so much people. I was so scared, and I took it myself. But the thing is that my daughters didn't run away from me. They held my hand. They stayed real close to me. They started protecting me, and I felt like I needed to protect them. The transformation of them becoming a caregiver for me was instantaneous, and it was sad that I had to become a child and they had to become a parent, but they adapted very quickly to that.
Ralph talks a little bit about that in his story, how he recognized the moment when his role to take care of his kids changed. He was sad at that loss, but the depth of relationship has continued on, just in a different form.
I get that.
So, Greg, you're kind of a big deal, I've come to realize. How do we find you on social media? Tell me a little bit also about your Caregiver Gift Basket project. We've talked about your show, but that's another big project that you have on social media.
Okay. Well, you can find me in multiple places on social media. Deaf Taught Us How to Live is an Instagram show. So I do lives weekly on Instagram, but I have also transitioned to doing my rebroadcast on Stroke Warrior Radio. Right now, I'm on Stroke Warrior Radio at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday and Sundays. But you can catch me on Instagram at AVM Superhero. Sorry, AVM _superhero. You can catch me on YouTube at AVM Superhero. That's one word. And TikTok on AVM Superhero. The caregiver package is a very interesting thing. Once a month, on my birthday, or the date on my birthday is August 24th. So on the 24th of every month, I have a lottery. I choose at random a caregiver that I have on my list. I usually have 12 on my list each and every year, and I renew it every August. So if you are a caregiver or a stroke survivor, TBI survivor, APM survivor, please contact me on Instagram at AVM _superhero. Message me, tell me your story, and you have to live in the United States, and you have to follow me on Instagram, and you have to be willing to make a reel of your opening of the caregiver package so people know that it's true, that it's real, that I'm not just taking money and just making it from my pockets. I'm doing it, giving it back to people. So that's basically it. I have partnered with this person called Mothers of Teas, and I do these little tea baskets. She does little journals and candles. This was for a little R&R for our caregivers because we love you guys so much. And sometimes people don't realize how hard it is for you guys. We understand it. And even if you're stroke survivors can't say it, and they probably give you the hardest time in the world, they do love you. They do appreciate you. So we just want to make sure that you understand that you are appreciated. Take time for yourself. We love you.
Yes. Michelle Humphrey, who is Stroke Mom on social media, she gave me your name originally, Greg, and she said that what you're doing with the caregiver gift basket is so inspirational. What you're doing for the caregivers is really important, but also what you're doing for stroke survivors, stroke warriors, because we want to, in any way we can, give thanks to the people who are supporting us. And you offer yet another way to care for the caregivers.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
And shout out to Michelle, because she is one of my strongest supporters. And I have interviewed her, and she's a great person. Her and her husband, John, great people. She actually does some things with my caregiver baskets as well. She writes handwritten cards that she has made from scratch that she likes to give out to people. That's one of her talents. She is a designer of creative arts, per se, on the computer. So she likes to do things like that to give back her thanks. So, shout out to her and her family. They are a great tool of resource for people that's in the stroke survivor community and in the aphasia community. You should really contact them at Stroke Mom, and they will help you out tremendously.
Yeah. And John shared his story, and we have an interview with John here on Beyond Stillness. He was one of the earlier episodes. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you. I feel honored to have worked with you, and I'm thankful for the way that you have been so open and genuine about your story. And you're a true inspiration for all of us.
Molly, the pleasure is all mine, and I'm honored to be on this show. Thank you for taking the time to help me with my story and get my story out. I really appreciate you, and I love what you're doing with this particular program. I pray and I hope that you do a lot of great things with this and reach a lot of people.
Thank you, Greg. Before we close, let's take a moment of pause, a moment of thanks for the connections that we've made, those people who have crossed our paths throughout recovery. A moment of thanks for people who have shared their story and have found a new perspective, a new purpose in life. May we listen to ways that we feel called to offer our support to other people. May we use our gifts and our talents to lift the community as a whole, as Greg has done. We give thanks. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 2, Greg Graham's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Greg Graham's story. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, guest Greg Graham, also known as AVM Superhero, shared his story entitled Death Taught Me How to Live. He spoke about a moment in the hospital when his life flashed before his eyes and he felt a total sense of peace. This experience propelled his recovery and his relationships. He made major life decisions when leaving the hospital and rerouted his whole life. If you enjoyed this moment of pause for storytelling and reflection, please like, share, or subscribe to the Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke podcast. Again, thanks for listening. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.